and a hammer.
Oh, I gotta really try hard.
Shut it down!
Somehow it's the best.
After the credits.
A YumChunks podcast.
YumChunks!
Welcome, one and all. It is that magical time of year we like to celebrate here at YumChunks. Today with us we have Chris Schmidt.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. And we have Sean Davis.
Hey, I'm here. How's it going, Matt?
Good. And we are here on another episode of After the Credits, a YumChunks podcast. Sean, what is that magical time of year that we're celebrating?
It is video game week. Well, it was video game week. It's video game season.
Well, yeah, we're celebrating that it happened. The week happened. All right. Yes.
It's like Christmas.
Yeah, well, it's like we celebrate Christmas that it happened a week after Christmas. That's how
that was a lot of words that we just used to not actually say what it is we're talking about. Chris, what is it that we're talking about today?
E3!
We are talking about E3 2019. Yes, indeed. And today we've got two of us, and when I say us, I don't mean me. I mean you guys were in attendance this year, and I, once again, will be playing host and asking you guys questions about your experiences and just what kind of an E3 we got. I don't know. Sound good to you guys?
Sounds like a plan.
I like video games.
I know. I hope so. You make them.
Prove it. This episode is going to prove it, Sean.
This is
it's
it.
going to put
Let's make it or break it right now.
Put my feet to the fire.
All right.
That's a saying, right?
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
It's a saying now.
The classic YumChunks saying now.
All right. Well, since I wasn't there, let's go ahead and start this conversation with some things that you can tell me, you guys having had the good fortune to go, tell me what I missed out on. So just in general, what was it like being there this year? Maybe even in compared to other years, if you want to, stretch goals this question here.
We'll see if we get there.
I mean, it was different for sure than normal years. First starting with Sony not partaking this year, leaving a huge gap in the West Hall that had to be filled by somebody. I think it was mostly filled by vendors and such in the area.
Sorry, don't mean to interrupt. Have you ever been, Chewy?
Yeah,
you have. Okay,
1 year.
So you know that there's the two halls and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can use this joke again since it's been a year since we last talked about E3.
I forgot.
I've gone at least once. I've gone twice if you count the year where I got thrown out.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely do. That actually counts more than the year you actually.
So it's like you went 3 times.
Yes.
Look, I had interesting, unique experiences both times. So I would say.
Hey, look at you! You are in a special club with Dr. Disrespect and everything of being thrown out of E3.
There you go.
It's like the Mile High Club, but for gamers.
That's weird. Actually, the way I remembered, I'm pretty sure you got thrown out, and we. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Sean, what about you? Anything just like noticeably different or new or exciting this year?
Yeah, I mean, kind of going off kind of what Chris said, it just felt different. I don't want to say it was smaller. I don't think it was smaller. Like in terms of people in attendance, it was probably the same. But it was different. The presence or the lack of Sony's presence was definitely felt, and coupled with Microsoft being off-site for the second or third year now, it just felt strange. I will say too, in the last couple of years they opened it up to the public, which in general has increased the crowds. But even so, the last 2 years, it still felt like, for the most part, the majority of attendees were industry people. I always felt. This year was different in that it felt like there was more public attendees than industry people, and I'm just gauging that based on the badge colors that it was. They shame mark all the public attendees with a giant neon orange badge. Not really shame them, but just make them easily identifiable. And I just noticed that it felt like almost everyone I saw had one of those badges, as opposed to just whatever, a standard blank white badge for industry people. So,
Well, that's interesting.
yeah, it's different. Yeah,
I'm wondering if, maybe it just took a year for the word to get out.
Yeah.
Because you said that last year was the first year they.
It was
No,
either
I
last
think
year or
the year
2 years
before.
ago.
Well, yeah, maybe.
But
maybe
yeah, it was recent.
Maybe it still takes some time for word about these things to get out, and now
Yeah,
finally, that's kind of how it was when the D23, the Disney Expo started. The first couple of years were really pleasant because no one really knew what it was or that it was a thing, and then once word got out, it's like it's just as busy as Comic-Con now. So, yeah, I'm wondering if the same thing's going to happen to E3 now that public has access and give it 4 years or so. And
I think that's what they're going for because I feel like they see themselves shrinking in a sense, and they're trying to maintain themselves as long as possible, and bringing in the public helps with that. But yeah, because it's become, I think we talked about this last year, it's become much less of like an industry event and much more public in general.
Well, less of an industry insider event.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even before, like, it had way more marketing reasons for the industry itself. You could go there, pitch games and everything. But even like the higher companies, they don't view it that way anymore. Like, they don't send as many people really to go there and receive pitches for games and such from other companies. So.
Yeah, I mean, now it's more in line with what you were saying, like Comic-Con or D23. It's a showcase to announce things. I mean, it has always been that, but now it feels like more focused on that.
Maybe more focused on the hype, right? 'Cause
yeah.
It definitely feels like Comic-Con definitely moved more in that direction, and I see D23 moving in that direction a little bit too. So,
and just comparing it to Comic-Con, it's still, I mean, I guess we're a little bit spoiled in that we've also been to Comic-Con. Or actually, Chris, I guess you haven't.
I've been to Comic-Con.
You have? All right. I don't know. Anyways, but compared to Comic-Con, it actually still feels small just because the hall is much smaller than the Comic-Con hall. And despite the long lines to wait to play demos and stuff, there's nothing compared to like
watch people play demos.
Yeah, or watching people play demos. It's still nothing compared to camping overnight to go wait in Hall H, or literally being crushed shoulder to shoulder while you're walking through these halls. Whereas E3, there's still plenty of breathing room. There's a little bit more of a chill atmosphere. Mm-hmm. As much as it's still like a spectacle and lights and flashing crazy noises and stuff, there's a little bit more of a chill, relax. They have a lot of little loungy areas. There's a couple of like bars set up around the floor that you could go just grab a drink from. So,
yeah, that's cool. So you would say the tone overall is changed in the last few years, or
I mean, I think it's still kind of has that hype, kind of crazy spectacle. There's lots of stuff going on, but it's also not so much. It's not overwhelming. At least it's not for me.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're not overwhelmed. I do remember the year that I went for real. It did feel much more relaxed than other conventions I'd had experiences with. So that's good to hear. Well, let's talk about the actual content of the expo for this year. While we're on the topic of just like walking around the events, if there was something that somebody was going to E3 for the first time, is there something that you would say, oh, you need to go check this thing out, or you need to go on this part of the show floor or the exhibit hall and go see? Do you guys have anything like that?
It's really hard because obviously just businesses, marketing people change every year, and the marketing people are kind of who help set these things up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like Nintendo's booth is normally pretty similar in design as every year, and I would say it has probably a little less flash than most places. But I mean, to answer your question, it'd be hard to say because you never know what any company is going to bring. Last year, before Resident Evil 7 came out or whatever, they had built a haunted house essentially to play it in the middle of the floor. There was nothing like that this year from them because they didn't they didn't have that game. So it really depends on the content and how extreme the marketing beat behind it's going to be.
Well,
So-
you bring up the haunted house as a good example. Was there anything comparable to that, at least in scale, or
I don't think to that exact extent,
yeah,
but the
no.
Nintendo booth did have a kind of a haunted hotel kind of thing for Luigi's Mansion 3, Mansion 3. And they had like guys dressed up as bellhops who were like the line, crowd control guys and stuff. I didn't actually go in to see it, but the line was fairly long, and that was kind of the closest I saw. I want to say the Final Fantasy VII demo also kind of had it set up a little bit from the outside, as if you're like in the Midgar slums, if you've played Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it's like they have the posters on the wall of the Loveless, if you kind of vaguely remember that from the game and stuff. It was pretty minimal. It wasn't to the full extent of like even some of the stuff at Comic-Con, but it was approaching that, and those were some of the things that stood out. I think the one giant thing, there's usually some sort of like statue or monstrous kind of thing, and there was a Monster Hunter giant dragon that was kind of cool, in terms of just like giant, get your photo taken with this big thing.
I would think, I guess on that note, I would say there are a lot more fun photo ops this year in general, I felt like.
Yeah, there's that. There was the Final Fantasy VII Cloud's motorcycle.
Hardy Daytona bike, yeah.
Yeah, you could get on the motorcycle. Fortnite had a gigantic area, and there was like a whole bunch of like almost like grad night games, if you know what I mean, like foamy, bouncy, spinning that you had to jump over as it spun, and
It's interesting.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean it just. You didn't even have like, I guess they did have some stations where you could play the game, but it felt like most of their booth was just like, here's popcorn and cookies, and here, go jump in this playpen, and there's a whole bunch of people dressed up as crazy Hotline Miami weirdos dancing. That's what Fortnite was.
Sounds amazing.
On that note, Sean, did you notice that it seems like booth babes are stealthily kind of coming back in a sense?
I did kind of think about that. Over the last couple of years, I mean, that's been a hot topic of kind of just like, I don't know, back and forth in the industry. And I feel like there's a certain crowd that certain publishers may be appealing to. I say in general, it's not like widely coming back in the culture of E3, but I do think that there are specific studios and or publishers who are very specifically like trying to appeal to that demographic.
Yeah, there was this one booth towards the Fortnite booth, I forget what it was, that just had like half naked girls twerking on stage and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
it was just
that,
and it was like one of those things. I remember it was a big deal when they were like, we're going to do away with booth babes and try to move away from that concept of the only like gamer girl that's worth anything is like a hot one or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if that's the right way of putting it, but like, yeah, just yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a conscious decision by these places. I mean, I'm pretty sure it is, obviously, but I don't think it's a widespread. Like, before it was every booth had that. Now it's not at all. And I think just a few are like, well, this is our angle this year. So, anyways.
All right,
and you mentioned the Nintendo booth. I do think the Nintendo booth is, even though it doesn't always have the largest, loudest kind of spectacle, I do think it's just like something that it's consistent enough that everyone should kind of check it out. They always have stuff to take pictures with that are kind of fun photo ops. They always have plenty of games. The line is usually fairly long, but you get your bang for your buck in terms of just pure amount of stuff that you could do if you do wait in the line. So.
Yeah,
when I look at... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Drew.
I was going to say, just from the year that I went, Nintendo's booth struck me as a company that had done this many times and kind of knew what they were doing. And it to me, it had kind of a little bit of an Apple Store vibe to it, where like everything was kind of clean cut and just very...
Yeah.
Just like they knew exactly, they have a plan, whereas everyone else kind of felt like their mentality was, what are we going to do this year and how are we going to do it? I don't know. Is that kind of Is
Yeah,
that
I
kinda how it
agree.
felt this?
Yeah,
I mean, that
Nintendo definitely.
summarizes Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo definitely knows what they're doing in terms
Right.
of their floor presence and stuff. And I want to say every other don't know what they're doing, but it does feel a little bit just like, all right, what are we doing this year? Let's just set it up like this because this is what we got a promo and this is what whatever. So.
All right. Well, how about let's talk about like the games and stuff.
There are games at E3?
I hope so. I mean, I can't confirm, but how about some of the what about some of the announcements? Let's talk about that. I don't know. What struck you guys?
Sean, what would you say was your biggest announcement of E3? Not coming from you, obviously, not coming from you, but what was your favorite announcement?
What did I announce at E3?
Yeah. Did you announce the Last of Us 2 release
No, I almost accidentally did. Not really. Well, actually, funny story. So,
Reel it back.
I don't know.
People at your work actually listen to this.
I didn't really almost announce it, but on the show floor, I ran into or I met this guy, Tim Rogers. Tim Rogers, he's a correspondent for the website Kotaku. He's one of my favorite correspondents. He does a lot of videos and just like pieces, and he's really funny, and he does reviews and everything like that. And I follow him, and he's the one who did the slow translation of Final Fantasy VII, which we've mentioned a few times in the previous episodes. Chewy, you may vaguely remember that. Anyway, in any case, I saw him on the floor. He was just doing little spot pieces around E3, and he was walking with his cameraman to pick up something, and I'm like, "Hey, Tim Rogers!" And I said, "I was born stupid," which is his sign off for all of his videos. He always signs off his videos with, "I was born stupid, I will not die hungry." So I'm just, "Hey, Tim Rogers, I was born stupid," and he just kind of said, "Oh, hey, dude, what's up?" So we got talking, and I was like, "Oh, I really like your work and stuff, and it's cool, nice to meet you." And then he saw I had a Naughty Dog shirt on. He's like, "Are you a Naughty Dog?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "So when we getting that Last of
Only
Us
in
2?"
private.
And I'm like, "Well, I can't answer that. You'll get me fired if I answer that." And he's like, "I've gotten plenty of people fired before." So, yeah.
Oh well,
so
in that
anyway,
case.
yeah. Right. But I did not divulge any further information from there. But it was also just cool meeting him because, like I said, I'm a fan of his and stuff, so it was fun. In any case, what actual announcements that were made? So the two things that I was the most, well, I guess excited for, two with a few smaller things behind it, was Cyberpunk, which is not, or the release date for Cyberpunk, and that game continues to hype me up for it. I'm really, really excited for it. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake release date, which I've been cautiously optimistic about, not trying to get too excited for it. But the demo, I didn't get a chance to play it because that was kind of the most sought after demo to play, so I couldn't get into it. But it does look cool, and I talked to some friends who did play it, and they enjoyed it a lot too. So those are my two top ones, with some other ones
That's
like Zelda Breath of the
shocking,
Wild
Sean.
2, Link's Awakening remake. I know, lots of other stuff. Sorry, I'll stop. I could keep going, but I'll stop for now.
Just name all the games that they announced.
Yes.
It's all right.
Chris, what about you?
I mean, besides the 7 remake, the thing that shocked me the most and got me hyped for games in general, and I'm going to be the odd man out here when I say this, was when Square announced that they were remastering Final Fantasy VIII finally. And I was like,
You would.
I don't care. I don't care anything about 7 anymore. I'm all in on 8 again. Let's do
It's
this.
just the same game.
I was going to say,
doesn't-
yeah, I haven't looked into that much, but are they rebuilding it like 7, or is it just a
No.
remaster?
It's
Just
a
a
remaster,
remaster.
so like how pixelated and kind of blocky looking they were before, they just sharpened it all up, make them look cleaner, but it's still the same game.
They're just going to put a Photoshop filter over the screen while you're playing the original one.
Yeah,
Yep.
but it's gonna be amazing. It looks so clean.
Good.
It's like, man.
All right.
When
If you
when
knew,
does that
if you
come
knew
out?
some of the memes around Squall and stuff, you'd be like, oh man, this is ripe for the picking.
When does that come out? September or something?
They didn't give like an actual date. They just said 2019.
All right, so then 2 years from now, then.
Yeah. And then the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC, which will be
That's
the
right.
final pieces of it, and then everybody's moving off onto something else from what they say. That was
Sure.
that'll be exciting. And then I mean, I'm a huge Luigi fan personally. And so not only did they announce Luigi Mansions 3, but then they announced Gooigi. And
What? I'm sorry. What?
How do you feel about Gooigi, Chewy?
Gooigi.
Gooigi. Oh, okay. I'm looking this up. This is no good. I mean, I'm getting a lot of DeviantArt results. So
Well, that's to be expected.
so I mean, I'm gonna close this tab.
And then in the trailer, it's just like it's going to have online, I guess, multiplayer? Was it online multiplayer, or was it just local co-op?
I don't know if it was online or not, but it's co-op multiplayer for Luigi's
Just
Mansion.
have like an army of Luigis running at you, and I was like, yes, this is Nintendo finally answering me. They're like, all right, Chris, we're coming for you.
Chris,
Coming for that.
didn't they have a whole year of Luigi that was something a few years ago?
Yeah, well, I think that was the year that Luigi's Mansion 2 came out.
I don't know.
I think they save it for years when they have a lot of Luigi content to put out, or that they can jam him into a bunch of other stuff and then put out one game. So, but yeah, no, it was pretty. I like that. What about you, Chewy? Obviously, you weren't there, but you pay attention to gaming news. What got you most psyched for games?
Oh no, Sean just sent a picture of Gooigi into the Discord. I don't like that. Okay, what I do like, there are 3 things in particular that struck my fancy this year from the comfort of my my computer desk. First one being Psychonauts 2.
Oh yeah,
that was
forgot about that one.
Big surprise. I had heard, whispers and rumors of a sequel to Psychonauts for years and years and years, and it just turned into
the game announcement was a surprise to you.
Yeah, I just kind of thought that was dead. I mean, because I would every once in a while hear, oh, it's back on, now it's not, now it's... And then seeing an actual trailer and seeing those characters again, moving around and talking and doing things just was surreal to me. Again, I might be late to the party on this one, but yeah, just seeing that, what they brought for that game was really cool.
Real fast on that note, before
sure,
we move on
yeah,
to the
go
next
ahead,
thing,
yeah.
Was I thought you were actually going to bring this up. The news that was surprised me about that was the fact that Microsoft Studios had bought Double Fine.
Oh,
I always figured Double Fine, a very strong, independent studio. I was like, whoa,
hadn't
that's
heard
unexpected.
that. Yeah, I didn't know that. All right, well, that's interesting too. Yeah, so a lot of movement going on over at that studio.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of people are talking about this one online, good and bad, but I'm excited for the Avengers game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a cool trailer. I like that Square Enix is doing it. I particularly like that Square Enix is doing it because I remember, you guys ever read those final hours of books that are on Steam? They did one for Portal 2 and they did one for the Tomb Raider reboot.
Oh, I don't know if I ever read... I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I ever actually read any of them.
Well, I read them. I don't know how many there are, but I read both of those, the one for Tomb Raider and the one for Portal 2. But in the Tomb Raider one, I remember one of the developers was like recounting a story where he was talking to the crew, and they're like, look, we need to be honest with ourselves. Are we making a game that's as good as Arkham City? And that kind of like remotivated everyone, and like the project changed after that. They're like, this is the kind of game we need to be making, because Arkham City was making a splash back at that point. And it's just interesting that quote always stuck out at me, because when I played those Tomb Raider games, like, it does feel like there was definitely some inspiration taken from the Arkham series, like just how the map is set up and the collectibles and how it's a little bit more open world. But there's now that their next project is Avengers, and just having listened to our last year's E3 episode, I said the same thing. I'm like, why isn't every studio making Arkham clones? And because we were talking about Spider-Man last year.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, yes, good. I don't care if it's a shameless ripoff. I love that we're getting an Avengers game that hopefully, is in line with something like Arkham or something like Spider-Man. And hopefully I'll be able to play it and not lose my game file at 80%. But, we'll see what happens. And then the third thing that I was really excited about is this wasn't news to me. I already knew this was coming, but seeing gameplay footage for the Link's Awakening remake for Nintendo Switch, I'm really excited for that one. And I think Link's Awakening is probably in my top 3 Zelda games. So I love the style they're going with it. I don't know. It looks really charming and fun, so I'm excited for that. Plus, I love my Switch, so can't wait to have another good game for it. So there you go. Those are mine. That's my short list. What do you think? Is it good?
Yeah, those are all good things. Anything that was like really big that we didn't touch on? I'm trying to think. Like they announced Borderlands 3 or they showed Borderlands 3. I don't know if any. I mean,
I guess a testament to how not Microsoft we are. We didn't touch on Gears or Halo.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about those. Yeah, they were there apparently. Well, that's the problem. That's what I'm saying is that like when you move off site and you like, I don't know. I didn't even really pay attention to the Microsoft press conference, and I mean I don't know. I guess that says a little bit about Microsoft itself. Mm-hmm. I do also think that maybe in general this year was more about the third parties. Like I was more interested in the Square Enix press conference and the Ubisoft press conference than. I mean, it didn't. I guess I didn't feel the lack of not watching the Microsoft one because there was enough stuff in the other ones. So
yeah. Also, Rule.
Yeah, which came out and I've been playing. But also like Banjo Kazooie.
Oh yeah, in Smash.
And Breath of the Wild 2. I mean, these were just kind of like small notches in the Nintendo press conference, but those are huge. Or at least the Breath of the Wild 2 is huge. The Banjo-Kazooie thing is just kind of fun.
Yeah, you brought up Breath of the Wild 2 a little bit earlier, but we didn't really talk about that. I mean, I kind of put the first one down. I'm planning on picking it up again, but yeah, that was I don't know. That seems surprising to me that maybe it's not that soon, but it seems really soon after the last one.
It does feel so soon, but
I guess
it reminds me of like Majora's Mask. I think Chris is the one. Did you say that, Chris?
I mean, I guess kind of. I mean, they've been doing everything they can online to separate themselves from that thought. I mean, if anything, it looks like it's more involved with like Twilight Princess and Majora.
No, sorry, not in terms of the content. I just mean in terms of the release because Majora's Mask came out quickly after Ocarina of Time.
Oh yeah. It's definitely going like for the first time in a while. It feels like they're taking what they've already built.
Yeah.
And just building upon that rather than
which I am
over,
absolutely
which they haven't
100%
done since Ocarina.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind that because I love Breath of the Wild. So, and I think it has a,
I can't imagine
awesome foundation. So
I can't imagine anyone needing a sequel to Breath of the Wild. There's so much game.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
How do you finish it? Do people finish Breath of the Wild? I
finished it.
I get overwhelmed thinking about the idea of that.
I haven't finished all the DLC yet. I've done some, but I have finished the main game, and I got I don't know if you could quote unquote 100% that game, but I did a lot. I did as much as reasonably expected.
All right. Well,
I don't know what that means, but I did a lot. I'm just proud of getting a whole 120 shrines and finding 700 Korok seeds on my own without a guide, and maxing out most of the armor and completing all the side quests.
I'm proud of you, Sean. This is the reason why I brag about you. You're the friend I brag about.
I have nothing else, all right?
What's interesting is they said that the team behind Breath of the Wild 2, whatever it may actually be called, I guess was most heavily influenced by Red Dead Redemption 2.
I saw that as a headline. I didn't click on it, but I guess so.
Yeah, like that's their motivation. They're like, we want to not necessarily make that game, but they want a game on that scale.
That's intriguing. I'm intrigued by that notion. So cool.
Is Red Dead Redemption 2 that much big? Like, is it a larger game than Breath of the Wild? Or?
I think probably square mileage it is. I would say.
All right. Well, that's ridiculous. But all right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, what else was? Hey, what else was there to talk about?
We could just talk about games that we played.
Oh yeah, what'd you guys play? Tell me about what you played.
Chris, what did you play?
I played nothing.
Oh, cool. All right.
I'll tell you why. Because the only thing I was interested in really playing, like I was like, yes, I want to do this, was the Final Fantasy VII Remake. But to get into that, it was a line that formed right as the show opened, and then they were handing out time slot tickets, and I got in line, and then they sold out like right before I got there, and I was like, no, okay, what am I going to do now? And then I kept walking around, and I was like, Cyberpunk 2077? Well, you're just waiting, 2 hours to watch somebody play a demo. That doesn't sound like a good use of my time. Nintendo stuff? I don't even know where to get in line at Nintendo's booth. It's like a maze. I'm just like, too much thought process. I don't want to do it. And so, for the most part, I just ended up walking around looking at things.
That was a good story, Chris.
I know.
Sean, what did you play?
Oh, man. I actually played I played a lot. Well, I consider it a lot. So I played 2 of the games on your most interested list. I played the Link's Awakening demo, which it was a 15-minute demo. And, I mean, if you like Link's Awakening, you're going to get this game anyway. But this just made me more excited to play it. It was the exact kind of same feel of Link's Awakening and almost the exact same kind of map, I think. Mm-hmm. Like all the stuff I knew what I had to do. You were given 15 minutes at the beginning of the game to get as far as you could, essentially, and I knew exactly what I had to go do. I gotta go to get the sword, then go to the forest and get the potion and get
right.
And it was all the same beats, but it was just tight controls, really really fun, charming aesthetic. I'm super excited for that. I think you're gonna love it too.
I'm sure I will.
The amount I played. And I also played Marvel's Avengers Ultimate Alliance 3, which was super fun. If you've played the other ones, it's very, very similar to those. I don't think it's going to quite be the Arkham Knight, Tomb Raider type games. To me, it reminds me more almost of like the Lego games. If that makes any sense.
Are we talking about the same Avengers game?
Mm-hmm. No. This is a different one.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
He's talking about if you ever played the old ones where you could just local co-op with a friend.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Not the Square Enix one.
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, man, you got my hopes up. I was so excited.
Yeah, sorry. No, the one I'm talking about is there's like the Ultimate Alliance where it's kind of like an RPG beat 'em up, and it has the entire roster of Marvel characters. Mm-hmm. That was fun. Right. It was just like a fun, mindless beat 'em up, and you have combo attacks and all this crazy stuff. Let's see what else. I played the new Wolfenstein game, which, if you've played any of the recent Wolfenstein games, those are actually really good games. A lot of fun. This one seemed okay. It's emphasis on co-op, but it seemed pretty standard first-person shooter stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be great, but didn't wow me. I played this game called Medan, which is a Bandai.
From the people that made Until Dawn.
Yeah, the same people who did Until Dawn, which I loved that game Until Dawn. I thought it was great, and this is just the exact same premise, just a different, story and characters. So if you liked Until Dawn, I'm fairly confident this will be enjoyable as well. The premise is like you're in an abandoned boat with zombies or something. But yeah, it's a group of people, and you got to try to survive, a la, a scary movie type thing. So that was good. I played a handful of indie games, just like small little publishers here and there. They have this area called Indiecade where they have some like indie games that you can kind of go sit and meet the developers, and so that's always fun. I played Trine 4. Apparently they're going to do another Trine, which...
Oh, jeez.
I can't believe they made that many of those games.
I think I only played the first 2, but I really like those games. They're really fun, charming, whimsical platformers. And the demo of the 4th one was really fun type.
I mean, I know that the 3rd one they leapt to full 3D, I think. I only ever played the first one, but I knew people weren't super big on that 3rd one, so
the 4th one feels more like a first return to the roots kind of thing.
Okay, maybe that's what it is. Because again, because of that, I was surprised to see that a 4th one was happening. So, but cool. I mean, maybe one of these days I'll actually go through and play the rest of them.
Yeah,
there you go.
I played the newest Darksiders Genesis. If you guys have ever played the Darksider franchise,
nope.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a little departure from the classic third-person kind of Zelda-ish God of War style. This is almost like a dungeon crawler with elements from those types of games, like a Diablo-esque kind of game almost. And yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's others I played, but those were some of the highlights. So I felt fairly satisfied with my gaming.
But you didn't play Lone Echo 2.
No. Well, you could just get me to play it whenever. I'm not going to wait in line.
I mean, you don't have a Rift. What do you mean I could just get you to play whenever?
Why haven't you given us a Rift yet, Chris?
I
That's
would
what
if
we
I
should
could even
give.
get a Rift. I can't even get a Rift.
That's what we should give everyone who
Rift?
emails us. A Rift.
We're not going to discuss this on the air.
Oh, sorry. I mean, we already have one.
We were trying to pretend like we were forgetting about that entirely.
Oh, that's right. I mean, for our next set of emailers, that is what I mean. So,
all right, well,
yeah, those were the games I played. Enjoyed my time there. And other than waiting about an hour and a half for the Nintendo stuff, I didn't have to wait in line too much, which was kind of nice.
Yeah, it sounds like instead of pouting, you went and made the most of your time.
Who was pouting? I wasn't pouting. I took a bunch of cool photos at photo booths.
That's
true.
Good, I saw
Chris.
some of those photos.
I had good times. Talked with friends. I don't know.
Good to hear it. I'm glad. All right. Well, I have one last question for you guys. What do you think was the message of this year's E3?
How dare you hoist me by my own petard?
Bleak.
Oh no!
Bleak, no.
No, I didn't. I don't actually have any more questions.
I have one question.
Oh. Okay.
And both of you are free to answer this one. What were you surprised or let down by that wasn't at the show? What surprise absence? Were you like,
okay.
Like,
I'm surprised by and let down by the fact that we didn't see any Half-Life 3.
oh man,
You will just perpetually be surprised and let down by that forever.
Yeah, that was the biggest surprise of the show.
Two things actually.
No, I didn't really have any
Realistically-
expectations or anything, so I didn't. It was kind of hard to be surprised. I kind of already said mine, which was Psychonauts 2, and part of that was through my own just not keeping up with the news. Didn't know it was happening. Didn't know it was happening far enough into production that we could see gameplay and footage of it. So yeah, that was a pleasant surprise for me, and I'm looking forward to that
Nice.
very much.
So am I. That's one of my favorite games of all time.
It's great.
For Psychonauts.
It's so clever. It's so unique, and I don't know.
The game design is out of this world. The humor is timeless. That game makes me laugh no matter how many times I play
The
it.
humor, the art style, everything about it. Yeah, that's a fantastic game. I don't want to get my hopes up too much now that I know the sequel exists. I kind of just want to forget that exists until I play it, because that's kind of how I went into the first one. Like, I don't really know what this is, but people said it's good, so all right, whatever, I'll give it a shot. It looks weird, and then it ended up being amazing. So we'll see. We'll see what about you, Sean?
I guess I was kind of disappointed they didn't have any more news about Metroid Prime 4 or whatever the new Metroid Prime is.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Though Nintendo had plenty of other stuff, so I didn't really feel let down. I was just like, oh, it would have been cool to hear more about that. And then also, kind of similar to Half-Life 3, but I feel a little bit more reasonable, is I'd love to finally get a Mother 3 port and like an actual translation and release.
You
in
can't
the
have
US.
games with 3s in them. It's impossible.
But they surprisingly,
Valve says it's impossible.
which was great, is they released Second Densetsu 3, which is the Trials of Mana, which had never been released in the US before, and they announced it, and it's like, hey, it's on the floor. You could go buy it right now as of this announcement. It's something that's never been released in the US. It's supposedly one of the best Super Nintendo RPGs that was never released in the US. It's available now. You can go buy it on your Switch. That's awesome.
That sounds crazy.
I was hoping for something.
Did either of you guys ever play Landstalker on the Genesis?
Yes, yeah.
No.
They made a sequel to it in Japan called Lady Stalker, and you can
I heard
get
about that.
which is a terrible name, but
That is
the main
so
character.
many levels.
It's a terrible name for lots of reasons. It's named that because the main character is a lady this time, which doesn't really make it much better.
And they don't.
But I've always wanted to play that game, and I'm like, yeah, well, I never will. And there was a fan project to translate it a few years ago, and it kind of fell apart. But now I hear about these, like, them reviving these old, international only games, and I'm like, hey, maybe it'll happen. But I guess they'd probably have to change the name, though, wouldn't they?
Yeah, probably. Oh,
At least
speaking
we're
of that,
getting.
are you going to get
Okay.
the Genesis Classic? As an answer?
Probably not. Just because whenever they do Genesis collections, it's always the same games, and I have the PS3 Genesis collection. I have the PS4 one. I have it on Steam. I have most of them. I have the original cartridges. Like, I don't. I think I'm done rebuying all my old favorite Genesis games.
We must rebuy the same games every
That's
generation.
very grown up of you, Chewy.
Yeah, it is very mature of you.
I just have Genesis collections scattered all about my apartment. So.
If it had Lady Stalker on that collection, though.
Yes, then yes. If it was translated to English and it had
you
that.
hear that, Sega? You missed out.
You missed out on one customer. There you go.
They need all the customers they can get at this point.
Yeah.
Like, do they? I don't know. I don't know the financial business.
They got Mario and Sonic in Tokyo.
There you go.
Yes,
That's
true.
good. All right. Well, unless you guys have
job,
anything super important that we left out, I think I might want to wrap this up.
So real fast.
Go for it.
Things that I was bummed had no presence. Bayonetta 3. Like, how is there still no more news on Bayonetta? Wasn't that announced like 2 years ago?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Platinum Games usually pretty good about just like churning out games and such. Figured we would at least seen more of it. That's one of the reasons I even got a Switch. So I was kind of let down by that. Beyond Good and Evil 2, I thought was pretty nuts that it wasn't here, considering last year it had such a giant trailer.
Yeah.
It was such a big deal. It's like, oh, here it is. And then it was just like, okay, cool. When we get to this E3, I was expecting like gameplay or something.
No.
And then it was just nothing.
Throw that game into
Ubisoft-
the Half-Life 3 folder. That's not happening. I'll believe it when I'm playing it.
Well, Ubisoft had so
getting
many
scared
other
that that's
things
true.
to show.
What was that?
So Ubisoft had so much. They had too much other stuff to take up Good and Evil time.
Just Dance 2020.
Yes.
It's important. Just
It
Dance
is
is important. It's important to stay in shape.
But at least we're getting No More Heroes 3. That's a thing.
Oh,
I was
that's
happy
true.
about that.
Oh.
But yeah, I was really bummed by those two things in particular. So maybe next year.
I realize I didn't ask you. You posed the question and asked us, and I'm now realizing
That's
that you
alright.
posed the question because you had an answer that you wanted to give, and neither of us asked you. So
Classic.
yeah.
It's all right. I'm used to it by now. The abuse I get.
Well, good.
From you guys.
I don't have to feel bad about it
Because it's
anymore.
not going to stop.
All right, I'll go ahead.
So-
I'll go ahead and bring this to a close then,
Yep.
if that's okay. Am I allowed?
Take us home.
It's
All
okay,
right.
do it.
This has been a very special. Is this a bonus episode? This is a bonus
Yeah, let's
episode.
call it a bonus episode.
All right, this has been a very bonus episode of After the Credits, the YumChunks podcast. Once again, I'm Matt Shuey, pretending to be the host of the show for this week. We have another show coming up really soon because we're about to film another one, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, you can find us on Podient, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and several other podcast outlets. Oh, Stitcher's one. I keep finding, if you Google at YumChunks After the Credits, I just keep finding different things we're on. I don't even know how we're on them.
That's
but
great. Are we on like iHeartRadio?
I don't know if we're on that or not. But anyway, we're on lots.
We are on Discord now.
Just search YumChunks After the Credits. You'll find us. Listen to us on whatever thing you like us the most. If you want to get in contact with the show, you can leave a comment on any of those things that have a comment. Oh, including the YumChunks YouTube channel, which I forgot to mention. You can email us at yumchunks@gmail.com and just send us an old-fashioned letter, and we'll read it on the air if it's work and or school appropriate. That's it. Right? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
cool.
believe that does
We're
it.
done with this one. Finished. Let's
did
do a
it.
different one.
Video games forever.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye.
This has been
After the Credits.
a YumChunks podcast.